It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Technology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from UBC's Parlor. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome back from Heroes Day here in the country of Uganda. And even yesterday, while we were celebrating Heroes Day at Kololo Independence Grounds, we also had something happening in the world of weather and nature. We had a climate projection report that was released yesterday, projecting that if nothing is done about how we are managing climate in Uganda in the next few years, about the next 20 years, it's going to be a dangerous place for us to live in, especially in Uganda. Then rises the 10th of June 2021, where we are having yet another anticipation in the world of sports. Today we do have our Uganda Cranes in South Africa as they are getting ready for a fixture against Bafana, an international friendly building up to the World Cup qualifiers. But that is in the world of sports. In the world of current affairs, we are much eager and expectant of the budget reading that is happening today in Parliament, and we can't wait to see what is going to come out of it and how those resolutions, those recommendations are actually going to be laid out for the next 5 years. Well, welcome to Good Morning Uganda. My name is Priscilla Nalwoga, and I don't do this alone. I am always in the custody of two awesome intellectual gentlemen. Good morning to you, Robert.
Good morning, Priscilla. I must say you look good. I love your top.
Merci.
Yes, the mixture of those colors. What do you call it in this generation? Flow? There is a term.
It's not really flow, it's just print.
Oh,
yeah,
but you look
print.
very lovely this morning. And of course, thank you so much for waking up with us this morning, where we are ready to ensure that you're well versed with what is happening in Uganda and of course overseas. Well, just to remind you, Sunday His Excellency addressed the nation, giving a couple of measures, and one of them that was to take effect and is inter-district movement. Today happens to be the 10th, and just to remind you, do not wait for the LDUs for a roadblock, to remind you that you should not cross into another district. The deadline is here with us. But also don't forget that we shall be having the budget, and of course we're excited to know which new taxes, despite Parliament having approved the budget, that's on the 7th of May, but still there's much we have to know today, and of course the statement of His Excellency, his address after the budget reading. Yesterday was Heroes Day, like Priscilla said, and of course reassurance to Ugandans that no one will play around, will destabilize this country. The Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, confirmed that to us, but also hinting on something that I found very interesting, that is my land, more so in Uganda. A lovely morning to Brother Felix Nkunda.
Well, good morning, Robert and Priscilla. Must also add my voice to you to say good morning to you all our viewers, and thank you so much for waking up with us on this day, the 10th day of June 2021. Now, there's so much that is happening in the country, but also globally. Now, I must also interest you guys into a topic that is quite also making news in the country, where we see people coming out to make reactions about the selection of the cabinet, if I may call it. Everyone is giving their true sentiments, but majority also speaking to the aspect of the women coming out to dominate the cabinet this time round. The question is, are we yet to get into the promised land? Because the belief and trust that comes with women, as it has been said. For example, you look at posts like the vice president, you look at the prime minister, and thereafter you look at the deputy prime minister, and many other posts, if I may say. Does this give hope? Maybe just to ask the two of you very briefly, does this give hope? Should it cause alarm? Should we be anxious, Robert?
There is a saying that when you educate a girl child, you've educated a nation. And always that first and foremost, women are better managers.
Let me just ask something, Robert, about this statement you just made. Why?
Because being a mother, being women, there's some touch of perfection they have towards things. And even when you look at issues of corruption, Uganda have always had a challenge of corruption. If you look at the percentage of women and men in key offices who have really turned out to be culprits of corruption or suspects, you find that women have done great. And I want to look at some of the positions that women have held in this country. Away from cabinet, I'll go to institutions like KCCA, where we still celebrate Jennifer Musisi. You look at UNRWA, where Alan Kajina has done a very good work. So I believe, yes, a cabinet that has so much of women will greatly do, more so in inspiring, even away from ability to deliver, but also inspiring other women. You know, third world countries, women, we've had that challenge where they are vulnerable, sometimes they're viewed as a special group. So when you have more rise up to these institutions, to these positions, I believe they inspire many that maybe will feel less privileged, underprivileged to rise up beyond and discover their abilities.
Priscilla, are you excited?
From a 26% representation to now 43% representation of women in leadership at the helm offices in this country, it's definitely exciting. I'm looking forward to it. The one ability that women have away from men is the ability to multitask. They can handle so many issues and be able to handle and pay attention and deal with so many things at the same time, which will help a long way in achieving the many projects that some of these offices have been having pending and carrying over from one year to another year. Perhaps even the budget will be sorted out next year with such, new percentages in representation. So for me, it's quite exciting.
Well, there you go. At least there are a couple of people with hopes in terms of how the representation of women is coming closer to the higher tables. Probably once in a blue moon, I think we should be expected and see something good. I also have high hopes in ladies. I would hope that this won't cause disappointment later on. But evaluation shall come in. Today is the day where we'll also be hearing, as Robert said, a couple of new taxes and basically how allocation of the national cake will be done. Who will eat the lion's share or whoever will take the biggest.
Please, when you say cake, some of us really picture there's going to be a cake with a national flag on it and we're going to have a piece of it. So please use other terms that won't cause hunger to us this morning.
Just reminded me, yesterday there was an analysis of how cabinet was divided and they were showing state ministers, cabinet ministers by region. And how the national cake has been divided. So we make people assume, like in Uganda,
there's cake in parliament, there's cake in cabinet.
People believe that when you get these positions of leadership, they come with a cake. And in the Baganda say,
we should try muogo, cassava. Try those ones. Even those are national foods, actually, more than cake is pizza.
No, people can call it a pie. But anyway, the mathematical attribution is about the 360 angle. The 360 angle. Yeah, so it's not necessarily about the cake. And
even cassava has 360 angle, Felix.
I don't think
so.
No,
it does, because it's circular.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I don't know.
You're looking at it, you see, that's the problem of men. That is why we have 43%.
Really?
Yes.
But when you have 43, it means it. No, when you have 43,
you get right.
That has always been.
when you have
quarrel, you can be the victim, but then you end up being the suspect.
But just,
so I have no doubt when
just to mention that when you have a 43, there's a 47 somewhere,
which is okay.
So still, you have your place as women.
See, the 47
but nevertheless,
is seeing the cassava like this. The 43 is seeing the cassava like.
Felix, to rest this, I want to tell you, women can turn anything into what they want it to be. That is one of the other opportunities they have. For example, even when you're the innocent fellow, they can make you the guilt of the day. So Priscilla's analysis at cassava, having a 360, is no doubt. Let's go by that. But however, also there's one thing that I feel, yesterday I talked about the good work that was done by Afande, by Kano Edith Nakalema. I was privileged to go to some of the taxi parks and also the bus parks, and I want to thank her and government agencies. I saw police buses, I saw Makerere University, Ministry of Works. I was like, oh good.
Which
Uganda,
prompted other regions to also respond in the same manner. We had the northern region also sending its buses free of charge to come and pick up people for their region.
So what made me happy is that we're seeing government coming up to solve a problem. This had become a menace, and by about 4 p.m. you could hardly see any stranded student in Amanyuwa bus park, at least where I passed, and they will tell you, yes, government has sent in buses, Gulu, northern Uganda, the committee has sent in buses. I want to thank whoever contributed so much to that plight, because my fear was a parent who has sent 40,000 for a child to go to Gulu, to go back home, sudden closure. Now you tell them they have to pay 80,000. How would that parent handle that? But God bless those that came in and were able to ensure that that was sorted and done. You know, sometimes I get passionate when I'm speaking about some issues because I know people in rural areas have challenges of money. So it be in Kampala, yes, but I want to thank government for that initiative, and we hope that many times you see government come in very fast to respond to issues rather than seeing people first and foremost screaming, alarming. Yet we have capacity. It was proof that we have capacity.
All right. Well, today being 10th June equally, we are having the budgeting reading, and we're going to be giving you live updates, also streaming it live here on UBC TV. So for your live updates, turn to our Twitter page, which is UBC TV Uganda, and you'll be getting them as and when they are being given and released. Equally, do stream live with us on Good Morning Uganda as we have conversations starring to the budget reading, and that is on Facebook, UBC TV, on YouTube, UBC Television Uganda. Just reminding you that you can start your day the best way we all recommend you do, and that is by picking yourself up a Hallelujah ginger tea drink or a Hallelujah tamarind drink. Now, these are natural drinks that do boost your immunity in the most natural way. Given that the second wave of COVID-19 is here and the statistics are rapidly increasing, you know someone that has lost someone due to COVID-19. Now, you don't want to end up in the same direction. So safeguard yourself. That way you safeguard your family. That way you're safeguarding Uganda because of the Hallelujah ginger tea drink and tamarind drink.
Well, it's also time we look at some of the stories that were in our news bulletins. That is yesterday, starting with Heroes Day celebrations that were held at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds, where President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni launched the Civic education program that is aimed at promoting unity, teach the public sense of duty and social values. The program will run under the campaign dubbed "This is Home," that will influence a shift from divisions caused by politics to harmonious coexistence as a modern state. It is largely agreed that Ugandans love themselves but don't love their country, because civic education, an aspect in a country that promotes unity, patriotism, harmony, values, sense of duty and accountability, has been lacking. President Yoweri Museveni launched this on the 32nd Heroes Day celebrations at Kololo. Earlier, before the launch at Kololo, civil society organizations led by the United Nations representative Losa Malango held a conference at her residence in solidarity of the program. She urged Ugandans to embrace "This is Home" campaign for one's own benefit. This is Home, a civic education program, will be implemented by the National initiative for civic education in Uganda. The officials from Ministry of Information, Technology and National Guidance and other partners welcomed the program, saying it will once shape Uganda for better.
The just released list of cabinet ministers by the head of state Yoweri Kaguta Museveni increased the percentage of women in cabinet from the previous 27% to 43%. Women activists have described this as the right path towards attaining sustainable development, goal number 5 of gender equality. One would be right to describe the current executive arm of government as gender sensitive, given the big numbers and positions the head of state has entrusted to women. Some of the women bigwigs are Jessica Alupo, who is now the Vice President, Robina Nabanja, Prime Minister Ruth Nakabira, Rebecca Kadaga, among others. Former Minister for Ethics and Integrity, Maria Matembe, would describe this opportunity of having many women in decision-making positions as a turnaround for women at grassroots levels. Although Miriam Matembe has criticized the head of state on the choice of positions, other women activists have backed him up on the ground that the Constitution empowers him to decide on the team to work with.
Member of Parliament who is getting ready to take on her role. If approved, Nabanja will be Uganda's first female prime minister since the country gained independence in 1962. This would also be the first time the country has a female vice president and prime minister at the same time at the helm of government. Flanked by colleagues from Kakumiro, we caught up with Nabanja at her home in Kavule, a Kampala suburb, rejoicing victory. Speaking to the media, Nabanja described the news of her appointment as a surprise. The Kakumiro District Woman MP Robina Nabanja told UBC that she's ready to take on her position as leader of government business. Born in December 1969 in present-day Kakumiro District, Nabanja attended Nkoko Primary School and St. Edward's Secondary School, Bukumi, for both her O-level and A-level. She later obtained a certificate, diplomas, degrees and master's degree in different disciplines like leadership, management and development studies from various institutions. She once served as RDC in several districts of eastern Uganda, treasurer to NRM parliamentary caucus, among other positions.
Uganda having marked the 32nd Heroes Day at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds, Kampala, with President Yoweri Kaguta as the chief celebrant. The event was characterized by laying of wreaths on the mausoleums of body of liberation heroes interred at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds. The President Museveni asked the living veterans to remember the sole ambitions of the struggle that has seen Uganda rise to the current level. President Museveni dared opportunists who want to destabilize Uganda with violence that this could be a deadly venture. The president, however, expressed an open-door policy for dialogue with the opposition. On the issue of development, Museveni urged the new parliament to support his programs of wealth creation to fix poverty levels. He criticized the Milo land system, which he said is distracting development and causing unending personal disputes.
The president's speech there, Priscilla, when he hinted on the issue of Milo land and of course how people are finding it hard. I really feel happy that the president knows the plight, even when he mentioned one of the Bushwa heroes, that he found a forest that harbored them. This person had already been evicted because he does not possess a land title, but is just a Chibanja owner. Well, we hope and believe that we shall have a law that really protects. The laws are there. Maybe let me bring in Felix here before we go to international stories. Felix, we have laws that protect Bibanja owners, but over and over we've seen many being illegally evacuated or evicted from this piece of land where they have stayed for generations and generations.
Well, of course there are laws, but you and me know as a matter of fact that the applicability of laws in this country is quite dwindled. And you know that people get away with a lot of incarcerated character. in terms of abuse, in terms of breaking the laws. And if you want to talk about land and its abuse, you will definitely have to talk about the enforcement arm of this country, the aspect of corruption, and of course the decadence in institutions like the proceedings in court, where we have backlog, expedities, is absent in courts. So there are many things that surround issues of land wrangles, but also intention. The land question must be solved once and for all. It's not enough for His Excellency to say that he's not happy with this land tenure. Maybe there's something that can be done. Maybe there should be some discussions. But this is what we got from our colonial masters. You have land, you have leasehold, you have all these kind of different types of land holding. Maybe we just have to work within them of the people. And I think there's not much we will do about it, as a matter of fact, anyway. But speaking about news, again, we'll cross over now to international stories, and the first story we'll be looking at: the US does come out to make promise that it is about to share 500 million COVID-19 vaccine doses to other nations. Now, the Biden administration has reached an agreement with the United States vaccine makers to provide at least 500 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine to 100 countries over the next year. Now, as he prepared for a round summit meeting with the European leaders, President Joe Biden was under pressure to do more to make U.S. vaccine available to poorer nations. Now, Biden is set to announce the plan at the three-day summit meeting of the Group of Seven, that is the G7 nations, to be held in Cornwall, United Kingdom. Now, set to begin on June 10th, according to the people who spoke to the Washington Post. Biden was asked by the reporters as he boarded Air Force One for the flight to the UK if he had vaccination strategy for the world, and he did come out to say, "I have one and I will be announcing it quite soon." Now, in another story, we're looking at Biden also comes out to warn Russia against harmful activities at the start of its first official trip. Now, U.S. President Joe Biden has launched his first official overseas trip with a warning to Russia that if it faces a robust and meaningful consequences, if it actually comes out to make engagement in harmful activities. Now, Biden made his clear intention to strengthen ties with U.S. allies following strained relations under the Trump administration. President Biden arrived in UK on Wednesday. He will meet the PM Boris Johnson to agree on the new Atlantic Charter. Now, the pact will be a modern version of the one agreed between Winston Churchill and Franklin Roosevelt in 1941, with a focus on challenges including climate change and security. Now, back to Africa, where we'll be looking at Nigeria's Twitter ban. Donald Trump hails Buhari. The former U.S. President Donald Trump has praised Nigeria's government for banning Twitter after it deleted President Muhammadu Buhari's post for breaching its rules. Who are they to dictate good and evil if they themselves are evil? Mr. Trump said in a statement. He urges other countries to ban Twitter and Facebook for not allowing free and open speech. Now, Mr. Trump was also banned from both platforms after the U.S. Capitol riot in January. His posts before and after the raid were alleged to have encouraged violence. Now, while Twitter made its ban permanent, Facebook announced last week that its suspension, including of a former president's Instagram account, would last at least 2 years. What did Trump in particular say and his sentiments? He made congratulatory message to the president of Nigeria, who just banned Twitter, and he applauded him, saying he is a man of character. Well, that's what basically is happening on the international scene. Now, banning of Twitter does cause for accreditation. I think His Excellency of Uganda should now think of that quite soon. Probably if he wants to get acknowledgement from maybe people like Trump. But nevertheless, much of that is what we'll be following with us here on our program. Now we'll have our song for the day, but when we come back, we'll be looking at the newsreel. Guess what? Today is when we will hear our budgetary reading. Now, let us know what is going to be apportioned where and what's the effect of such a portion. Let's take a break. When we come back, we will be going into our newsreel. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda this is Good Morning Uganda 2021. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Uganda is Good Morning Uganda 21. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
was brought to you by...
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
What does it mean to be closer together? It's taking the last bus home for a surprise visit. Closer together is strangers finding a connection. It's bringing home something much more than a box. It's the warmth of home, or the beginning of something new. There's magic in sharing the things that we love, because it's those things that bring us close together.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communications sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Therefore, understanding this model. Hey, excuse me, lady. Who do you think you are? A queen?
Hey, haven't you heard? Get Airtel Chillax bundles and browse like a queen.
Get Airtel Chillax bundles that do not expire and browse like a queen or king. Dial *175# or use My Airtel app.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning once again. Arise up, and indeed arise up with us this morning. The sun is about to get out, and of course we're sure it is a bright day for you, and of course it's a day where we expect the budget reading for the financial year 2021-2022. Eager to know new taxes. Are they going to be very friendly? What are the allocations to various programs or sectors of the government? And of course we know this is a budget that is a tune of 44.7 trillion, and we expect to have about 76.7% domestically collected revenue, and of course have 23.3% that is external revenue. So we are going to be footing part of our budget as has been, and also expect to get some monies that are externally generated, that is from loans, grants, and so on. But what is a budget, one would wonder? This is one's expected income and planned expenditure. For when it comes to a country, this is how much we expect to collect or get and how we are going to spend this. But before we go to the budget, we have people that are following us on our various social media platforms, and let's have some of these views and comments read to us by Priscilla.
Oh yes, may I say good morning to you, Eduardo Isaac. Thank you so much for joining us on Good Morning Uganda on the 10th day. Ewere O. Peters, thank you so much. Kanyesje Robert, you are on Facebook streaming live, as well as Caesar Patrick. Thank you so much, guys, for following us on Good Morning Uganda. We also do have those that are streaming live from, which is UBC Television Uganda. We do have Wilson Emangalit. You are definitely saying from Canada, and you're saying thank you so much for the program, and you're ready to have the country run. And you're also saying that the debate is going to be interesting. So thank you so much, Wilson from Canada, for joining us on Good Morning Uganda. Those are some of the people that are following us as we continue this conversation of budget reading.
Well, we keep on urging you, please send in your views, your comments as we discuss the budget of a tune of 44.778 trillion. That, of course, that will require you to be a good taxpayer as well to get to these monies. But Felix, Parliament passed this budget on the 17th of March. So we have an insight, and of course, these days it's a process that begins from the grassroots, it's all involvemental. But what is very clear is we have Vision 2020-40, we have the national, our budget does not fall in this, then it may not be that very good. What is your analysis on this?
Well, of course, Robert, as you said earlier, a budget would be defined as that you earn, how you spend, that may give you causation to understand whether you're operating below the mark or above the mark, in essence, to have what you call surplus or deficit. When a country like Uganda unveils a budget, it is simply telling us that in terms of a population of about 45, 47, if I may probably assume, we are able to plan for you this way. It's an annual budget. We are able to plan for you in this manner, and we are going to spend on you this way, in particular, the breakdown as you gave it. Nevertheless, what you're saying, that if you want to understand the budget, you relate it to a homestead, just as how you run. When you get a salary, say, of about 5 million, what are your priority areas? Depending on what the vision is what you're asking. What is Uganda's Vision 2040? That may be political, a vision, by the way. But the National Development Plan is more appreciated than the vision. Because between you and me, we have had Vision 2020, then 2025. It is a bit political, but when you go to the National Development Plan, it is a bit more inclusive in terms of governance, in terms of legislation, in terms of implementation and policy. Now, this is more persuasive for us to juxtapose the budget against it to make a good comparison. When you have a national, when this plan was being drafted, it had no true anticipation of the most current times of probably what one would call the pandemic or the COVID-19. And that's where you find a mismatch. You may find that the intended allocations may have wavered because of the most current situation. For example, if you're to look at your depletion, as you gave it to us in terms of healthcare versus infrastructure. Because if you're going to discuss development, the measurement should be on those things that influence others. Like in economics, one would call what we call dependables. For example, if someone went and bought, let's say, charcoal, it would mean they have to buy a matchbox. You get the point. Like there are those sectors that once they are funded, others will definitely be benefiting. For example, if you fund healthcare well and you have a more healthy population, it will trickle back into industrialization because you have a healthy population that will be able to provide good human resource in terms of, and it works like that, like that.
For about the 5 consecutive years, we've seen financial years, we've seen our budget so much on infrastructure.
Growing, because you have a growing population. Now, that's in resonance of how do you prepare for this population to make it productive. Now, when you go to education, that what is the effect of a huge budgetary allocation to to education in terms of nation building or nation growth? Now, it means that if you facilitate education well, you'll have probably more doctors, maybe more teachers, maybe more professionals in terms.
For example, Felix, education, that if you facilitate education very well, you look at sometimes a big chunk of money is allocated to these sectors, but maybe when the big percentage is going into paying salaries.
And what's wrong with that?
And actually it doesn't go into ensuring, for example, the education sector in this financial year, you look at the recurrent expenditure that most of.
What are we looking at in terms of good education? We're looking at quality. The argument is about quality. Now, when you want to discuss good education, you're going to discuss what influences quality education. The biggest attribute is motivation. What is motivation in terms of, you're going to work backward in terms of payment, facilitation, and just to mention but a few. So it is not wrong when you pay good salaries to teachers, it's simply a guarantee to quality. But what I was trying to bring out is that in terms of what you asked, that for us to match up to the expectation of those things that we place our eyes on to be visions or even plans ahead, we must facilitate most relevant sectors that also cause effect to other sectors. And that's what I was trying to bring out. That what is the effect of infrastructure development vis-a-vis, for example, once you facilitate good infrastructure, Robert, it means you're going to have good roads. The transport network is good. That in its own self promotes agriculture. Okay? It later on also promotes ease in movement. For example, once you facilitate the integration bodies like the East African Community and you put into them life, it means that you're opening up markets. Now that causes encouragement for agriculture. And this is, if you try to analyze this budget, if you're keen to read it, some of the areas have gained stains in how they have appreciated continuously. For example, people have been making argument about this whole security issues, but I want to say this.
Taking lion's share.
When you facilitate security, and by far border security, it causes true guarantee that other activities will happen. So what I'm saying that look at a sector, not in isolation of the whole effect to the country. Look at every sector and how it works within another. If a country is secure, what can be done? This country has not had external aggression for quite a time. What are the benefits? And make comparison to countries like South Sudan. Even yesterday, I think 2 days ago, there was a terrible attack on 2 expatriates, I think from Italy somewhere. 2 people were killed. And yet they were giving aid and all these things. What am I trying to say is that when you look at this budget, don't confine yourself into the attribute of, for example, security is taking too much money. Let's look at what is the effect of security to education. What is the effect of security to agriculture? What is the effect of security to infrastructure development? What is the effect of security to all other aspects? We are talking about oil. Most recently, we saw the president making a couple of commitments with partners in Tanzania and I think Total and the others. What is the effect of security to that we are longing to do? Look at the effect of security in terms of fishing, which we have seen most recent becoming an issue because the president even made confession that we could get more money if we specialize this area. For example, I don't know what's the name of noni in English, but in particular parts of fish.
You could even earn more than we expect.
Yes,
on
so
oil.
on a blanket of approach, if you want to understand this whole dialogue or discussion of budget, don't look at the budget in isolation of the sectors. As we normally say in law, that read the law as a whole, not in isolation of any article. If someone can't come and say that Kirabo will have a right to life, or probably you have a right to information. But the other article come and say, but what information? So let's look at the budget as a whole document, comparison being made to how one sits there. I saw one of it is been about 15% in paying debts. That is a very good thing, by the way. You know, we need to grow in culture of that is a good discipline. If we borrow money, it must be paid. You can't start arguing about you're spending so much money paying. Why don't you make that noise when you're borrowing that money?
Actually, people are raising more on our public debt, saying, I think we are borrowing so much. And maybe if we borrow so much, are we putting what we are borrowing in the right sectors that will, in return, enhance development and ensure that we have the capacity for our debt loans? Priscilla, this is a budget that comes at a time when, of course, we've gone through the pandemic. We are still having challenges with COVID-19, and one of the crucial issues is this has affected greatly people's earnings, yet people have to contribute. At least when you look at our budget, we expect about 76.7% domestic revenue. Realizing our set or our expected expenditure at such a time.
So what you're bringing out is that the pandemic has actually opened up our eyes, one, to the disabilities that we have as a country in terms of revenue collection, especially in terms of locality or domestic collection, but also it has opened up our eyes still to the fact that we can actually redeem our very own selves domestically from the revenue around to be able to finance the bigger part of our budget. As you have stated, this time around, domestic contribution to the budget is to the tune of 76.7%, which leaves 23.3% to foreign aid that will be coming in as and when it's going to be coming in. So for me, I think out of the pandemic, so many things have come out and so many good things have come out. We had URA here last year during their December campaign, and we were talking about taxpayers and how they've actually been able to pay their taxes better this time round, given the pandemic, to the extent that URA actually superseded what they had targeted to gain that very year of 2020, which was impressive given the hiccups, the many hiccups that the economy did experience during the pandemic. Now, if you are seeing that realization, the monies that actually do exist, there are points that we can actually get money out of, then that is a positive thing. Then that causes the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Development to actually focus more on domestic. But in focus, again, still relating to what Felix has said, that it all has to merge together to create the environment, the economical environment that can cause Ugandans to thrive enough to contribute the biggest percentage to their own budget in terms of catering to its expenditures. And you look at sectors such as agriculture. Everyone expected agriculture to go hey-may in COVID-19, but it has been one of the most thriving industries, most thriving sectors in the COVID-19. If anything, there's a story of a Kenyan who ended up being locked down in Uganda when we had the lockdown in March 2020. And he had a rabbit farm in Kenya, but because he couldn't attend to the rabbit farm in Kenya, he decided to start a rabbit farm here in Uganda. And guess what? He has thousands of rabbits as we speak today. He has been able to thrive in just 1 year, which shows you that there's so much potential here. And that is what the pandemic has caused Ugandans to wake up. And that is why I'm thankful that the burden has to now fall on us, because we have woken up to the realization, which was something that the president did mention in his inauguration speech. And he talked about the fact that we have surplus. We just don't know what we have to use the surplus for, but we have plenty that we can actually gain income out of to be able to fund our own selves. But the problem of surplus, now imagine a surplus that is being contributed by 40% of Ugandans that have woken up in just the year 2020. How much more if the rest of the 60% also decide to wake up? Then we can be able to meet our own budget, we can be able to pay our own debts, and we can be able to grow at a faster speed economically.
Finally, Felix, regarding the budget that is going to be read today, we look at financing the budget. budget, and one of the measures government is looking at is domestic borrowing. We know the economy has had a bit of challenges due to COVID-19, and we're looking at how best we can rejuvenate the economy, mostly looking at the private sector. Felix, this internal borrowing poses a threat and competition, because you have the private sector that is going to be running the banks to borrow, whereas also government is also going to be focusing at borrowing from these commercial institutions.
Robert, it's a national duty for every citizen to contribute to their country's development, and that's a matter of fact. And the only way that is done is through direct and indirect taxes. To start with, it is our duty as Ugandans. It is not enough for us to pride in being Ugandans because of the buffaloes, the gorillas, the monkeys and what. It's also good enough for us to pride into the fact that we facilitate development of our country. It is bad behavior that most black people, as a matter of fact, also have been aligned to the tune of being given. That's why it's even in culture here that if someone doesn't give, they are bad. It is a culture we need to work against, and this is both in terms of society, family, and later on government. Secondly, for us to talk about taxation as one of the sources of, before I come to the issue of borrowing, internal borrowing, taxation is one of the, if not the only sources where government gets money, if not the only source. But government has a hurdle or a sort of like hill to climb when it comes to making people understand why they should pay taxes. Government must make people enjoy to pay taxes. And I can give you an example. The only way people feel comfortable paying taxes is when there is good accountability, where there is transparency, and where there is logical allocation of those resources. You get the point? People must not only hear of the fact that but they must see that if the government is focusing on infrastructure, if Kirabo Robert as an investor or as a businessman drives on a good road, it is motivating for him to pay taxes. If your child, Kirabo, a taxpayer, goes to hospital with a pregnant wife, they will not suffer for their wife to give birth. That is motivating. What am I saying? It is a big deal. It is a big task for government today to cause true attribution to service delivery as a means of encouraging people to pay taxes. Lastly, when you go in, and some of us who are students of management and finance, you notice that there's what they call incentives. If a Kirabo is paying 1 billion or 5 billion annually in taxes, how does he benefit from that as an individual? Because there are not many. There could be about 20 Kirabos in Uganda who pay 5 billion annually. You cannot compare that to Nkunda who pays maybe 1 million annually. What are the incentives? And that's you see, that's a practice globally. Why should a Kirabo line up at an airstrip or an airport like Nkunda who pays 1 million? We should make people enjoy taxes. We should facilitate. But you find a Kirabo who pays 20 billion annually in Nakawa, standing like a nobody. But you know what 5 billion can do to this country? It builds a health center, if not 3 or 4. Let us, and this is a duty to URA and the Minister of Finance probably, and whoever is concerned in this docket, for us to grow this contribution from whatever percentage to our percentage, to lessen the borrowing. People, let us first of all educate people about the purpose of taxation, but also let us make Ugandans love to contribute to their country through service delivery, transparency, but equally also accountability. It's key.
Well, the budget reading is today, and we are excited to know some of the measures that government is going to put in place or has already put in place to ensure that we can finance our budget. But also, like Felix said, let's find true meaning as to why Ugandans should pay tax. Look at the methods that have been put in place to rejuvenate the economy. Recently, we saw stimulus packages. To what extent are these put in place, and how are they going to be reaching people? Because COVID-19 has led this economy at one point. People are struggling to make ends meet, and remember, in tandem, it goes back to how much they have and they are able to pay in terms of taxes. We'll be broadcasting live the event as they unfold when the budget is being read, so please keep it on UBC TV and make sure you do not miss any of the President's speech thereafter, the reading the budget, but also the content of the budget. We'll take a break, and when we return, we'll be looking at what is trending in the print media this morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Ekya COVID-19 kijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
Prosper with Airtel Money today. Agent application and registration is free of charge. All you need to submit as a sole proprietor business is a letter from the business owner requesting for a SIM card and the purpose of the SIM card. Certified copy of Certificate of Registration of the Business issued by URSB. Certified copy of Statement of Particulars of the Registered Business and supporting statutory declaration in verification of the particulars. Copy of valid trading license. Copy of operational license issued by the relevant regulatory authority. Copy of TIN certificate issued by URA. Valid national ID for Ugandan proprietor or passport for foreign national, including a valid immigration entry permit, work permit, visa, or residence certificate. Colored passport size photograph of the proprietor and handler of the business. Proof of current physical address of the business, tenancy agreement or utility bill in the name of the proprietor or landlord, or LC1 introduction letter confirming ownership and location of the business. You will be informed of your application status within a maximum of 5 working days, still free of charge. Upon successful agent application, Airtel will provide training and customized branding material for your business location, still free of charge. To register, call us today on 126 toll-free. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless. Airtel is regulated by Uganda Communications Commission.
It is your morning show where we ensure that you start your day an informed person every weekday. Thank you so much for keeping it on UBC TV, and please be part of the various discussions in this program by sending in your views, your opinions on our social media platforms, Facebook and Twitter. We're very active, and also you can catch up with the show on our YouTube channel, which is UBC Television Uganda, and you can watch the show at your time of convenience. Once again, I'm Kirabo Nyonyintono with my colleague Felix Nkunda, and it's time to look at some of the stories that are making headlines in the print media. Beginning with the New Vision, where a very big headline there, why Museveni picked Alupo and Nabanja. Experts' analysis on stories about cabinet. The New Vision brings you that as well. We also look at other stories, which budget sectors have lion's share. just been discussing the budget, and we'll do that still with an expert in our GMU agenda a few minutes from now, so do not miss that. Then dropped ministers speak out. The New Vision looks at those that have not made it back to cabinet speaking out, and Janet Museveni on what Olanya's win means to Parliament. That is the First Lady. Then second wave of COVID-19, highly infectious. That is the Ministry of Health has said, unlike the first wave, the second wave is infectious and is spreading more rapidly. So please watch out, forewarned, you better know what to do, perfect the soaps. We look at Heroes Day. Museveni wants government to support families. Yes.
Monitor US Chinese firm get shilling 7 trillion oil deal there, and inside security plan as inter-district travel ban starts. Now, Lister AstraZeneca chief, how to vaccinate the world. And in DM today, Love, he shut down traffic to propose, now to wed in lockdown. Okay. Museveni drops Kadaga 6 places in power hierarchy, and President renews fight to dismantle Milo tenure. Government revises school calendar. And also, we're looking at Jessica Alupo, the former education minister and retired army major, has been appointed as the new vice president of Uganda. Government poses curfew for buses and taxis. And of course, from the archives, Minister of Finance Matia Kasaija reads a copy of the Daily Monitor newspaper before he read the national budget of 2020-2021. Now in history, Nelson Mandela writes from prison. That was in June 10th, 1980, and Italy declared also war on France and Great Britain. That is in 1940.
Looking at COVID-19 statistics, and with a call upon you, please don't be part of these statistics. Uganda today, new confirmed cases 54,669. Then we look at new death, 2 people have succumbed to COVID in our country according to what we have in the New Vision. Then total death, we stand at 388. This is a big number, so please let's do all it takes. Then accumulative confirmed cases countrywide 48,676. Then total recovery stand at 47,760. Know your member of parliament. Today we have that is Henry Musasizi, Rwanda East Minister, also Minister of State for Finance and General Duties, according to the new list that was produced by Cabinet. Then Anifa Kawoya, Mawogola West State Minister for Health, General Duties. And today in history, it was on this very date, but the year 1976, when Amin survived an assassination. That was an attempt on his life as he was carrying out a parade inspection in Zambia barracks. Still on this very date, Martin Luther escaped. The year is 1977.
Now, of course, in sports, Okello, now he says the onus is on us to deliver, and real test awaits Cheptegei in Florence. Now, of course, I will be looking at swimmers at Haire, Namutebi selected for Tokyo Olympics, and Cheptegei final race before medal hunt. Now, Obua retained as sports minister, but also 43 days to go for the Olympics. And of course, in Euro 2020, here is the group of death. Of course, you see a couple of games there that will happen, and who are the highlight players for you to look at for. We're looking at Kylian Mbappe and Cristiano Ronaldo. Will they make their teams make the stance there?
In the New Vision Sport, we look at Southgate, proud to serve, ready to go. That is the friendly that is going to be at 7 p.m. South Africa versus Uganda at Orlando Stadium in Soweto, South Africa there. And of course, there's so much from our coach and some key players that we are relying on to have victory there. Then Bombers backed as we now remaining only with 44 days to go. That is to the Olympics that will be held in Tokyo, Japan there. But these and more, Priscilla will be here to take you through the world of sports and of course more of these interesting stories. Felix, on a lighter note, there is a story of a person there who proposed and stopped traffic. This time round, they're going to be having their wedding. But this issue of proposing, you know, previously, some decades back, and kneeling on one knee, then withering, that drama, restaurants and all that, I don't think it's African.
Well, me, I told you simply, first and foremost, in my opinion, I find it to be a wrong practice, because you don't ask the person you're going to marry you. I think grammatically, that is in my opinion, if I understand English to that extent. So I don't interest myself in that practice.
You've just reminded me
because it is a man who marries the woman. Now, why would I kneel down to ask you to marry me? What the hell is that?
You just
the woman should be kneeling down to say, will you marry me?
Will you marry me?
The reverse should be true. So that is what I think.
You just reminded me when we went to Kenya, one of my cousins called Grace was marrying a Kenyan, and at the entry we saw Jackie weds Grace, then marries. That was cool. But let me get the ladies' version of this. Proposing something we are adopting, and it's now taking us like a bushfire. You're in a restaurant and then someone comes with a ring, nails, and people celebrate. Priscilla, what's your take on this? Is this really African? Should we just follow anything, get anything?
Kirabo, you have followed so many things already. It's done and dusted. There's no way you can turn the events that you have adopted in any way. So you would just go by it. And now, the sad story is that, you know, the whole public was part of this proposal. Now, he may have to just invite 20 people or have to wait out the 42 days, which is a challenge. But kudos to the couple, nevertheless. They're going to get married, and that is where we should be celebrating. However, I do find born in Felix's, contribution to the whole picture of who gets married to who and who should really be needing the other way around. Yeah. But away from that, we get to look at traffic. We get to see the area of Mtinda and what are the alternative routes given the construction that is continuous in the areas of Mtinda. You have Chisasi connecting to the Chisasi roundabout, connecting to the Kampala Northern Bypass. Now, when we get to look into Mtinda, on Chira Road, we get to see that around from Bukoto, you don't have so much jam that you are expecting to see this morning, except for where you do have the interaction for these residential areas getting onto the road, and of course where you do have the traffic lights there on the Bukoto area in Chira Road. Those are the only areas that you do expect jam to be building up over a while. When you look at the Bukoto Chisasi Road, you get to see that there is a long line of orange and red zones that are building up, and this traffic is trying to connect to the Chira Road right here, and it's managed by traffic lights. However, these traffic lights only go by a minute per time of lane to be allowed to go, and that affects the flow of traffic. So that is where you're having this jam building up. Of course, this jam is coming in from Chisasi, it's coming in from Chanja and those other parts of Nakawa region. Now we get to see that away from that, we get to see how the rest of the route into Mtinda looks like. Of course, you would be expecting some less traffic for traffic moving into Mtinda, but more traffic coming in from Mtinda. Yet surprisingly, now the route is actually becoming more clearer, indicating that maybe the traffic lights have released the vehicles to get going into the greater part, which would be Nakawa if you're using that route. Now into the heart of Mtinda. The trading center here at Mtinda is having a bit of construction, but surprising to note that the green shows that Mtinda is a clear route this morning. You also do have another area that is under construction, and that is after Mtinda, where you do have Total petrol station here. It's equally also undergoing some construction, and so those are some of the areas that would cause a lot of traffic jam every single morning. And speaking of causing, we do have an orange zone that has now built up for the route that is Mtinda Chisasi Road. Now, every time you get to Mtinda and you find a lot of jam and you are unbearable, because this jam can actually stand for 30 to 40 minutes, you can take the alternative of Magambo route, and Magambo route will always bring you to the Mtinda Chisasi route, and then you can connect to the trading center area code much faster than actually staying in this small. It may look like a small stretch, but trust you me, the time you spend in this stretch, you can use it during Magambo Road. Magambo Road will throw you on Mtinda Chisasi route, and then you can come out and continue on your direction. Alternatively, if you don't use Magambo Road, there is a very other interesting route that you can use to stay away from the Mtinda traffic jam, but will lead you into the areas of Chiwature. So for people who are going to Chiwature, Nigeria, Nalia, you can actually do connect to Magambo Road. Magambo Road will lead you to the Mtinda Chisasi really straight. And then from there, you can, it's just a small connection to the Chigowa Road, Ntinda Chigowa Road, and this Ntinda Chigowa Road is definitely going to help you avoid the cumbersome jam in the trading center, going to Chiwature, going to Nakawa, coming in from Kampala, Wandegea, and going to Chisasi. So, following the Chigowa Road this morning, it has a lot of corners, I will tell you that. But Chigowa Road is going to take you past Chigowa Police Post, and it's going to drop you right into the heart of Ntinda Chiwature Road. And this is where you have a supermarket, a big supermarket. It's called Frain Supermarket. That is where you will be coming from. Now imagine you would have saved time by avoiding all this straight over a jam right from here, connecting all the way to Old Kira Road. Now that is how sweet that option of a route is. So please get to learn that route if this is your residential area. If you take this route all the time, every single day, please use Chigowa Road. Learn it, and it will definitely save you a lot of time on the road. Into Chiwature, we get to see a couple of routes there. You do have Chiwature getting into Nigeria, and that is definitely a route that is also looking clear this morning. You do have Chiwature heading into Nalia Road, and also that looks a clean road. This will connect you to the bypass, which is the Kampala Northern Bypass in Nalia, still having construction ongoing. Diversionary routes still applicable, and you must be sensitive. What I usually do is that I will drive slowly and be keen to see where the front car is going, so that I follow in case I've forgotten the routes, just in case this is not your usual route, but you still have to access it to be able to go to Nalia, and then you may have to go to Namugongo. You just have to be patient and watch out for the guy in front. They always say that follow the taxi. It always knows where it's going. So that is something else to consider. Now, away from that, the Chiwature route still has another back route that can actually lead you to the Kampala Northern Bypass. That is in consideration that the main Chiwature route has a lot of traffic jam. There is this small road here that can actually also give you a connection that will lead you to the Kampala Northern Bypass, and it also has a connection to Jagenda Road. So Jagenda Semakola has a lane somewhere in this Kampala of ours. Anyway, so this back route will get you past Chiwature Country Club, and it connects you directly to the Kampala Northern Bypass. That way you avoid the cumbersome jam that usually builds up morning and evening on the main Chiwature Road. Now, speaking of main Chiwature, we get to see past that. Looks like the rest of the area of Chiwature into Nigeria is clear a route this morning. So that also speaks into the fact that the route is clear all the way into Chiwature, Ntinda, and the likes. So that is how the traffic is looking like this morning. However, as a private car owner, just to remind you, starting today, at the end of today, so tomorrow you will be expected to have only 3 people in your vehicle. If you've been carrying child neighbor, then the person on the road that waits for you, please do consider that it must be 3 of you in the vehicle for the next 40 days. Only 3 people, including the driver. And ensure that you are all wearing masks while you are in that vehicle, because you don't know where that person has been. That person doesn't know where you have been, and you don't want to be each other's contacts should anything happen. So stay away from the crowding places and ensure that you have a sanitizer in your vehicle. Speaking of your vehicle, still, it needs to run regularly on a perfect engine. And how do you ensure that? Well, ensure that you have regular checkups, especially for your air filter, your oil filter, and your fuel filter. Have regular checkups for those filters. Change them if there's need to be changed, and that way you can ensure that your vehicle is running on a perfect engine, and it's not going to be emitting gases that Molen does not want to hear about. Good morning to you, Molen. How are you this morning? It is a good morning. Yes. So you and I were having a dialogue behind, and we were talking about the projections for the year 2050 in case nothing is done about weather and nature. You talked about a release of a report that is a climate projection model that is going to be showing us a little bit of what that means, that if we do nothing of how we are managing our climate, our nature, our weather, by 2050 it could be a different state for this country.
Yes. It could be a devastating situation if we continue business as usual, and that is something we're not looking forward to.
So we better get to the climate action as soon as possible, because looking at the situation we have now, I can tell you we're most likely to go to that scenario where we see temperatures rising, where we see more extreme weather. That includes also increase in rainfall across most areas. So that means we start looking at more scenarios where we have floods across the country. And that is not something we are looking forward to.
You have mentioned the word temperatures, and when it comes to temperatures, is there any relation in terms of damage, especially for the whole zonal area?
Yes, because now looking at, because with temperatures, you have to look at all the parameters, I mean the different kind of temperatures. Are we looking at the air temperature? Are we looking at the minimum or maximum temperatures? So yes, at different levels of the atmosphere, we do have different temperatures in terms of what is happening across that zone. Yes.
All right, so Molen is going to be giving us more of what temperatures actually do and how they relate to the day-to-day living, as well as looking at the weather forecast for today. Good morning to Uganda. I'll hand you over to Molen Kenyana.
Yes. Now, yesterday we did have a report coming in from Climate Analytics. Now, these guys have come up, they did launch a model. It's a climate projection model that is looking at the scenarios that we are expecting if we keep doing what we're doing and if we resort to climate action. And we do have mostly what is interesting for me. I looked at the IPCC model, that is the RCP 4.5 and 2.6. Now this shows you how the weather will be like by 2050 and beyond if we do something about change our activities on a daily. Now we do have one that is comparing all the scenarios from the one that actually IPCC uses most, and IPCC, I'm talking about the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Now this was done over Uganda. It is showing us temperatures. Actually the baseline is from 1986 to 2006, but now look at how they are projecting from 2020 up to 2080. Now, our target as looking at the climate situation now is 1.5 degrees Celsius rise by 2050. Now, we want to maintain that scenario. We don't want to go up to 2 because now the target is 1.5. But what you see in the blue line up here is a scenario where we maintain business as usual if we ignore action against climate change. Now you see how temperatures will be shooting even up to 2 degrees Celsius. But now in the other model that is looking at RCP 2.6, we do see if we embark to all the climate action or governments start to implement all the policies that have been made in accordance with the Paris Agreement, we do see this orange line now where it's almost maintained at 1.5 degrees scenario. This is what we are aiming for. Now, what is involved in raising and maintaining 1.5 degrees Celsius is the story. Because now, how do we maintain this 1.5? That means we go green, we adapt to sustainable development measures. We look at all the sustainable processes that we use, especially in industrialization, carry out reforestation, and of course that means avoiding deforestation. Also, looking at much of what we are advising governments to also continue telling people who are starting up industries, the carbon tax. Make sure there is a way that we do compensate for some of these processes that we carry out that do affect. Now, this is only looking at one model, but is also aiming for if we do nothing. Now, it's not only temperatures. Now, if you look at the map, actually, this is the part of the country for Uganda that will be affected most in terms of rising temperatures. Mostly the Karamoja region, extending up to eastern Uganda, and also parts of central. Now, the western part is looking at temperatures being reduced, but still, that is a scenario where we look at maintaining 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now, if we do not maintain that and we go up to 2, you will see a different situation. That means temperatures will be rising exponentially across the country. We also look at, in terms of percentage, precipitation. We're talking about rainfall. Now, by 2050, if we continue business as usual, this is what we are looking at. Temperatures rising up to 1.5 degrees Celsius, but also in terms of rainfall that we receive, an increase of up to 45, 46, 47%. That is in terms of what is increasing from the normal rainfall that we are receiving right now. So that is the situation that we're in for by 2050 and beyond if we do not regulate our climate activities, our human activities, to make sure there is climate action across the country. Now, also that shows you the air temperatures still in terms of if we look at a scenario where we maintain temperatures to well below 2 degrees, that is aiming for 1.5. Now you see this one is different from the first map we saw. Now this one is when we take action against climate change, we do see at least close to normal temperatures that we have been experiencing. Even now, it still feels hot for some areas, and we have had records of more than 30 degrees Celsius, especially for northern Uganda, also midwestern, southwestern like Kasese. If we do not aim for 1.5, that means even areas that have been having like a 36 degrees Celsius, that is mostly Kotido, Moroto, where we always have those numbers. Now we shoot for 40. We haven't had 40 over that area. But by 2050, if we do not do anything in terms of climate action, we could be looking at a 40, and that is unbearable. I don't think anyone wants to see that. Well, we also look at, in terms of temperatures, in terms of rainfall across the country, like I said, still expected to have that percentage rising to close to 50% by 2050. Now, what happens if we have rainfall rising by that percentage? We see more occasional floods, especially in the already flood-prone areas like parts of eastern Uganda. And in turn, these actually cause landslides. We have had more frequency in landslides, especially across Bududa and also the mountain areas of western Uganda, that is Kasese. Now, if we have a scenario where we have close to 50% increase by 2050, 2050 is actually far. Even by 2030, we could start to see more frequency. Then do expect more floods, do expect more rivers bursting their banks, do expect more landslides. This is why we continue to urge government and to make sure that most of these policies that are aimed at reducing impacts of climate change are actually implemented, because then we do look forward to a balance in terms of rising temperatures. Well, I want to bring you back to what we have over the country today in terms of cloud cover, and this is depicted from our satellites that are looking over Uganda. We do have quite a clear day across the country. The morning is quite clear. We do have mostly sunny conditions, but the temperatures are quite chilly. We do have southern winter setting in. South Africa should be is dealing with winter conditions setting in within this month, so we should expect more chilly mornings across the country moving forward. So even when we have sunny conditions, we might have noticed even for the last couple of days we've had temperatures shoot quite low across much of the country, but still as the day goes on they start to warm up. Even when we have mostly cloudy conditions and also sunny conditions, we still have to look out for those chilly conditions. So you might want to weigh on what to wear during the morning. You can still have the coat to cover the chilly conditions, but as the day goes on, remember, it starts to warm up. So that is something you should take into consideration, see whether you will at one point get off that coat. And we do have clouds that are starting to develop across parts of mountain Elgon Islands and highlands, and that is where we have Mbale. That could be bringing us rains later as the morning goes on. We also have some clouds that are starting to develop from Lake Victoria, extending up to the western side of Lake Victoria Basin, and that is across parts of Masaka. We do have Zimbabwe there, Rengo, Do expect those rains to develop in some light rains, but that will be over a few areas. That system is already on the way towards this area, so those rains should come around during this morning. Now also for Midwestern Uganda, that is where we have Hoima, that is where we have Masindi. We do see those clouds that are starting to develop over there, and those could be bringing us rains across that area, but that will be until later as the morning goes through and also into the afternoon. We also expect more rains to come through for southwestern Uganda, and that is across also parts of Fort Portal, but that will be later in the afternoon. For now, we're dealing mostly with intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. Actually, much clouds starting to develop over midwestern and also southwestern Uganda, but for now, it is mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. We will look ahead and see our forecast across most parts of the country for today morning, where we do have Mount Elgon Highlands. That is where we have Mbale, Bududa, and also Buko. We are expecting to have a mix of clouds and sunshine. Quite a chilly morning at 25 degrees Celsius. Now, that is also where we have Buko in that category. Looking at the central part of Lake Victoria Basin, we do have Mukono, Kampala, Entebbe, and Wakiso. We are forecasting mostly a sunny morning, but we will have that mix of cloudy conditions, and temperatures will be at a very nice 26 degrees Celsius. That is quite some pleasant weather over there. Now, southwestern Uganda, this is where we have Mbarara, Bushenyi, Ibirizi. We do expect a sunny morning that will be going through into the afternoon, but temperatures are starting to rise up again, up to 27 degrees Celsius. That is also where we have parts of Ibanda as well as Bushenyi. A very pleasant 27 degrees over there with sunny conditions, and those will continue to the afternoon. Now, we do have the central part of the country, eastern side of central. That is where we have Ruwero, Wobulenzi, Nakaseke. We do expect intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions, mostly sunny conditions for now, which is why temperatures are starting to rise up to 28 degrees Celsius, and that is expected throughout the entire morning across that area. We also want to look at eastern part of the country. That is where we have Soroti, Katakwi, Amuria, and Kumi. We are expecting to have a sunny morning that goes through also into the afternoon. Temperatures at 27, but that will be shooting in as we head into the afternoon. We might be looking at a 29 to 30 degrees across that area. Well, that is all we've had for you in terms of our weather update. Do stick around. We have Good Morning Uganda agenda coming up, and you can also follow the conversation on Twitter at #UBC Good Morning Uganda, and we also have us streaming live on YouTube. My name is Marlon Kenyana, wishing you a very good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by was brought to you by.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
Echa COVID-19